Peace, family. This is your brother Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where we break down the most controversial topics, the most engaged debates, the most interesting subjects going on in the world today. And tonight, it's absolutely no different. I want to thank y'all for being here with me. It's been a crazy week. A lot of stuff going on in the world, a lot of stuff going on in my world, a lot of stuff going on in our collective community. I know a lot of y'all have been seeing the viral videos going around. You've seen a lot of the conversation, both here and on my Patreon. Make sure you check out that Patreon. The link is right there, that QR code to get the Patreon. But it's a lot to cover. We can't cover it all tonight, but I at least want to give it a fighting chance. I at least want to get at some of the stuff that's been going on and some of the stuff that we need to be thinking about in the world today. And that's what Night School is for. We come here, we break things down, we do a deep dive, we cover the issues, and we think about it in a rigorous and thoughtful way. And I want to start with, I think, maybe one of the most important things going on in the world, not just our world, not just my world, but the global community right now, and that is the issue of Israel-Palestine. We're going to cover other stuff. We got Stephen A. Smith, we got D'Angelo, we got what happened on JBP, we got all that stuff. So stay with me, y'all. Don't worry about covering that stuff. But I think we have to at least address this issue of Israel-Palestine, because after, my God, 2 years of what the world is calling war, 2 years of what has been unequivocally, undoubtedly a genocide, we have seen at least an end to the official phase of the quote-unquote war on Gaza, which, again, I reiterate, is not a war, but in fact a genocide. Former President Joe Biden, however, isn't allowing Donald Trump to just take credit for it. He's saying, look, I deserve credit for it. I set this thing into motion. Of course, Donald Trump right now is using this as his victory lap. He's using this to establish his case for having an effective presidency by saying, look, I created peace in the Middle East when no other president has done it, could do it, will do it, would do it, etc. So it's become a really interesting and troublesome tug of war over who's going to get the credit for Gaza. Now, former President Joe Biden appeared to take partial credit for the historic ceasefire deal that was signed this week by Trump, which brought the last 20 surviving hostages home from Gaza. Joe Biden went on X, and here's what he said. I got to look this up. He said, "My administration worked relentlessly to bring hostages home, get relief to Palestinian civilians, and end the war." He also said that he commended Trump and his team for getting the agreement, quote, over the finish line. So he's basically saying, I did it. I got y'all right to the end. And then Trump handled it. Joe Biden cares about this. He called the moment deeply relieving, saying the hostages had survived, quote, unimaginable hell, and that Palestinians in Gaza will now, quote, finally get the chance to rebuild their lives. Now, he wasn't the only one that jumped in on this. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, who was the Democratic Party's nominee for president this past election cycle, also jumped into the fray, offering praise for the leaders and partners who were involved in the deal, but she did not mention Donald Trump by name. She made it very clear that somebody got this deal done. She didn't say Mr. Trump. Now, that wasn't everybody. Former Secretary of State Antony Blinken claimed Trump's 20-point ceasefire was based on one drafted by the Biden administration during its final months in office. He said, it's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan the Biden administration developed. Now, the ceasefire, which was brokered with help from Egypt, Qatar, and the United States, ended a war. And I'm using war because that's the language they're using. Again, I don't consider this a war, Israel-Hamas war. This is a war on Gaza. It's a war on the Palestinian people. It's a genocide in Gaza. But more than 66,000 Palestinians died, indisputably, not to mention the tens of thousands who may lay under the rubble. Entire neighborhoods were left in ruins. Buildings were destroyed. School systems were destroyed. All of it was destroyed. And in Israel, the return of the 20 remaining hostages sparked a lot. Emotional scenes, families reunited, flags were raised, tears were shed. Yet many Israelis are still demanding the return of the dead, those bodies that remain in Gaza. Now, Trump, being Trump, ran his victory lap. He went on Truth Social, his social media outlet, which still sounds crazy for a US president. And he wrote in all caps, because he's a crazy person, all 20 hostages are back and feeling as good as can be expected, but the job is not done. The dead have not been returned. Phase 2 returns or begins right now. Now, there's a lot here. First, before we get to who's claiming credit for the victory, let's be honest. This is not a victory. I don't care what people tell you. This is not the creation of peace in the Middle East. The Middle East is bigger than Israel. The Middle East is bigger than Palestine. Palestine is bigger than Gaza. But even in the context of Israel-Palestine, even in the context of Gaza, there's no peace. Justice is the precondition for peace, and there's no justice. The Israeli military today continues to dominate, continues to rain violence everywhere. We cannot pretend that Palestinians are safe, even in Gaza, even today. That's number one. The absence of justice isn't just about the fact that people are still dying. It's about the fact that there's no plan for restoring the Palestinian people to the extent of their loss. And there's no way to revive or restore dead bodies, but even the land, even the infrastructure, even the civilian infrastructure, even the educational infrastructure, even the healthcare infrastructure, all of it's destroyed. This kind of post-Oslo logic of dividing Gaza and the West Bank and East Jerusalem and Israel, shouldn't prevail here. In other words, it's not even just about all the evil that happened to Palestinians in Gaza. It's also about the fact that the West Bank remains under occupation, illegal occupation, the longest standing military occupation in modern history. It's also about the fact there are settler raids and home demolitions and settler expansion. We're witnessing apartheid in real time. So instead of patting themselves on the back or fighting to see who can pat themselves on the back hardest and loudest, they should be fighting to see who can implement a peace deal that is actually a peace deal. And again, a peace deal can't happen if Palestinians don't have a state. A peace deal can't happen if Palestinians don't have self-determination. A peace deal can't happen if Palestinians don't have right of return. A peace deal can't happen if Israel isn't sanctioned by the international community, because even in this deal that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Anthony Blinken and all these people are claiming credit for, there's still a normalizing logic here that says that the international community doesn't have to be responsible for imposing justice. That Israel didn't have to be held accountable through international law or international courts. That Israel and the United States could almost unilaterally decide who gets to live or die. And that genocide can be a military policy. It can be a military strategy. It can be a national policy. It can be a public policy, and that nobody will do anything about it. This is not a moment for claiming victory. This is a moment for holding people accountable. And so it's crazy to me, one, to watch the Democrats and the Republicans do the jockeying game, because every president wants to claim peace in the Middle East as part of their legacy. Jimmy Carter wanted to do it. It's the reason why he was meeting with Anwar Sadat. Clinton wanted to do it. And Trump has been trying desperately to do it in both administrations. The Abraham Accords were the first attempt at that. This is another attempt at that. But again, even in claiming victory, even if I could accept the lie that there's peace and justice in the land, how do you get credit for creating peace and justice in the land when you were responsible for creating the injustice in the absence of peace? In other words, the United States is the biggest funder of Israel, the biggest supporter of Israel, the biggest enabler of Israel, the biggest defender and protector of Israel. You can't give people weapons, money, and diplomatic protection for decades and then act as if you're not directly culpable for the violence that emerges from that arrangement. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? This is absurd. But because we don't engage in any kind of serious conversation about what justice looks like or what justice in Palestine looks like, we end up sort of normalizing this ridiculous argument and this ridiculous logic. The work in Palestine has yet to be done. The work in Palestine has yet to be done. Anyway, I'm gonna continue because whew, y'all got me stressed right now. Let's talk a little bit about your brother, my brother, our brother, Stephen A. Smith. This is a story that I've been wanting to talk about for a minute. And just give me a hot second because I'm pulling up my notes here because I'm having a little tech issue. Let's see. I'm having a little bit of a tech issue. Give me 10 seconds and we'll work it out. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. Because Stephen Jackson is not happy with Stephen A. Smith right now. In fact, a lot of people aren't happy with Stephen A. Smith right now. Anyway, do y'all know former NBA star Stephen Jackson? He's a champion. He's a Texas boy. He came to prominence a few years ago, post NBA career, for his support of George Floyd, who was his friend. And he's part of All the Smoke, a wonderful podcast with Matt Barnes. Shout out to Matt Barnes. Shout out to my brother Stephen Jackson. He's not happy with Stephen A. Smith like a lot of people. He went on Instagram and he called out Stephen A. Smith after that awkward on-air exchange between Stephen A. Smith and Alexis Ohanian, who's the husband of Serena Williams. And I love saying the husband of Serena Williams. It's kind of dope. If you remember, Ohanian basically said, Stephen A., you're not married, so you shouldn't be speaking on marriage because you have no idea what you are talking about. Because he said back after the Super Bowl that if he was married, his wife wouldn't be trolling her ex, referring to Serena Williams appearing in Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show where she was crip walking and such. Ohanian called him out. It was a nice moment. He tried to get his lick back. I didn't love the execution of it, but whatever. Stephen A. Smith took it like a G. He went on his own show and said, look, he ain't got nothing against him. He's happy that he playfully confronted him. I don't think Stephen A. was happy, but I don't think he was tripping either. No one's happy when they get confronted on their own show. And I don't think they had that in the plan. So it is what it is. Anyway, Stephen Jackson then went on air and offered his own take on this. He said, come on, Stephen A., you get loud and all in your feelings about Brian when talking to a black billionaire, but when you're talking to a white billionaire, you're humble. And you come back on your show talking real respectful, mild manner. Right, bro, listen, and you dogging the black women. Stay out of politics and stick to talking about sports you never played, all right? Just stick to doing that, bro. We're not going to vote for you. I heard you talking about running. Don't do that, bro. We're not going to vote for you. No. We're not. You don't have the same energy for other people, but you get a lot of energy for Brian and black women and not everybody else. The reason this is happening is a few things. One, Stephen Jackson and Stephen A. Smith have a long-standing kind of tension because Stephen Jackson just doesn't rock with Stephen A., and he's pretty honest about that. The other piece of this that I think is important to think about is that in recent months, and this is what Stephen Jackson's alluding to, Stephen A. has gotten more and more involved in politics. He's gotten more and more involved in the American political scene, specifically everyday electoral and partisan politics. A week ago, or 2 weeks ago now, he criticized Jasmine Crockett, saying that the way she talks, the way she presents herself, while being very, very intelligent, and she's saying she's very intelligent. However, she needs to focus on helping her district and not criticizing Trump in the way that she does because it's not helpful to her congressional district. He has said things that don't defend Donald Trump, but certainly offer a different perspective than mainstream liberal Democrats. Would I say Stephen A. leans to the right? No, but he certainly hovers around the center, and that pisses people off. Points were made by Stephen Jackson. He said, look, white billionaires, you ain't saying much. Black billionaires like Brian, you got something to say. But I don't think it's about race there. I think it's about political position. I think Stephen Jackson's observing something that he's right about, that Stephen A. is making different choices about what he talks about, when he talks about, how he talks about it. I think he's right to say that Stephen A. is making some political decisions. I think he's right to say that those political decisions are based on career aspirations. I think Steven Jackson's right about all of that. Where I disagree with my brother Steven Jackson, Stack, we call him. There's so many Stevens in this conversation. I think where I disagree with him is I think Stephen A. I'm not even sure Stephen A. is running for office, but I do think he's making some political calculations. I think he recognizes the fact that as he grows out of the sports arena exclusively and says, I'm going to move into politics and I'm going to have this political show and I'm going to do all this stuff on these different platforms, he understands that liberal media outlets like Air America didn't last long. Right-wing media outlets last forever. People watch Fox News at a whole different rate than they watch MSNBC. Stephen A. is leaning into the right-wing audience. I don't think he's being dishonest. I think he believes this stuff. I don't think he's being disingenuous. I think he's articulating the positions that he really has. I think where it gets interesting is Stephen A. is an independent. He does have positions that might lean a little bit more toward liberals, might lean more toward conservatives. I just think he's not saying his liberal positions as loudly right now because that's not good for business. And I think he's saying, I think he's not saying I think he is saying his conservative positions more because they are good for business right now. Ifeolu Claire, what up, Noob, says, but what makes Stephen A. Smith think he's an authority? You've never represented anyone. Interesting point. But I don't want to hold Stephen A. to a different standard than I hold all these other pundits. None of these pundits, most of these pundits have never had jobs outside of punditry. Most of these people have never been political leaders. Most of them have never run for office. Most of them have never run a campaign. I don't want to hold Stephen A. to a different position or a different standard than I hold other people, but I think it's fair to say Stephen A. ain't done none of that. And I do think we need to get to a moment where we start to look for expertise again, where we shouldn't be deferring to anybody with a microphone to give us our political perspectives. I think Stephen A. would agree with that. I think he would say, I'm just offering my opinion. I'm not telling you to take it as the Holy Grail. And I think that's the right way to think about this. As far as specifically the Jasmine Crockett critique, look, there are critiques to be made of Jasmine Crockett. Why do I say that? Well, because there's critiques to be made of all of us. However, there's no evidence that Jasmine Crockett isn't serving her district or doing what her district wants her to do. And yes, her job is to represent those 750,000 people in her congressional district outside of Houston or in Houston, but it's also to be part of the U.S. Congress, not the state legislature, but the U.S. Congress. Part of their job is to be part of a system of checks and balances that holds the executive branch accountable. We might not like the fact that she curses. We may not like the fact that she should be dragging Donald Trump, or we might love it. Regardless, it is her job to do it. And I ain't heard many complaints from her district. So I don't think we should be imposing or adding critiques to her that aren't legitimate or that aren't representative of the base that we ostensibly are representing. I also do think this thing about who we pick on and why, like, why pick on Jasmine Crockett? And pick on is not the right word. Why focus on Jasmine Crockett? There's so many people out here destroying the world. The world is on fire. The country is on fire. Why focus on one of the people who's offering loyal opposition rather than somebody who's actually doing the damage? I don't think it's because he hates black women. I don't think it's anything like that. I think that's unfair. I think it's because, again, it's bad for business. And if we keep making our political decisions and assessing our choices about political commentary based on whether it's good or bad for business, I think we do ourselves a disservice. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. So more to come. I'm sure this Stephen A. Smith conversation will continue, but I at least wanted to give that some level of analysis. Everybody stay right here. I'm gonna take 10 seconds just to reset, and we'll be right back.
Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
All right, family, I'm back. Sorry about that. Just needed to take a quick reset. Full transparency. I was just thirsty. My mouth was dry. I needed to get some agua. That's all. Anyway, it's time, y'all. I've been putting this off. I haven't wanted to say this. I haven't wanted to talk about it, but it's time, y'all. Some tragic news today in our community. We end tonight with a story that I broke this morning on X, a major loss in the world of music and really just Black culture, really global culture. Grammy-winning R&B and soul legend D'Angelo has passed away after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. He was 51 years old. D'Angelo's family confirmed his passing Tuesday morning in New York City, describing him as, quote, the shining star of the family who, quote, fought a courageous battle before being called home. In a heartfelt statement, they wrote, we are heartbroken to announce that Michael D'Angelo Archer, known to his fans as D'Angelo, has dimmed his light in this life. We ask for privacy during this difficult time, but invite the world to celebrate the gift of song that he leaves behind. Born in Richmond, Virginia, D'Angelo burst onto the scene in 1995 with his debut album, Brown Sugar. It was a project that really helped to redefine R&B and neo-soul for the generation. He followed the success with the critically acclaimed Voodoo album in 2000, which earned him the Grammy for Best R&B Album. Then he made a comeback in 2016. I hate to even call it a comeback. I hate to call it a comeback. He made a comeback in 2014. This is very difficult for me. He made a comeback in 2014 with Black Messiah. Really an avant-garde album, a special album. Some people didn't understand it, but I thought it was a masterpiece. And so did the Grammy people. They gave him a Grammy for it, and it cemented his reputation as one of the most innovative and introspective voices in modern soul. Now, some of y'all, particularly people who are attracted to the male side of things, you'll never forget that iconic video. It's called Untitled, or How Does It Feel? Which became a cultural moment. It was sensual, it was vulnerable, it was unforgettable. I can't tell you how many women I knew in particular who were staring at that screen, looking at the bottom of the screen, trying to scroll, because a shirtless D'Angelo was standing there singing. It was a trendsetter. Over his career, he earned 4 Grammys. He collaborated with everybody from Jay-Z to Snoop to Q-Tip, and he inspired a generation of musicians who followed his footsteps. Just last year, his longtime collaborator, Raphael Sadiq, told Rolling Stone that D'Angelo had been working on new music and was super excited about what was to come. D'Angelo is survived by 2 sons and a daughter. His oldest son, Michael Archer II, whose mother, Angie Stone, another legend, passed away earlier this year, released a statement. Here's what the statement said. He said, it's been a very rough and sad year for me, but one thing both my parents taught me was to be strong, and I intend to do just that. Tonight across the world, fans are remembering D'Angelo, and they're remembering him not just for his voice, but for his spirit, a blend of soul, truth, and vulnerability that helped define a generation. But let me say a little bit more than what I prepared. D'Angelo was a genius. In a world where we use that word too much, D'Angelo was a living, breathing genius. D'Angelo was a generational level artist, as a songwriter, as a song arranger, as a vocalist, as a visionary. He was different. And we sometimes lump him into a pile or a generation of artists, neo soul artists, 90s artists, whatever. And he's one of a bunch of people who were great and made great music. But the truth is, he is singular. In a room full of talented artists, D'Angelo reigned supreme. Um, the three pieces of art that people most remember him for, Brown Sugar, Voodoo, and Black Messiah, are all pieces of music that have and will change how we understand music, how we understand what's possible. Um, some of the stuff people don't even realize he made. Remember, You Will Know, was that 92, 94? Um, he was 20 years old and he was writing songs that people wouldn't even know he was responsible for, but still left an imprint on our culture. The music that he produced for other people, the songs that he arranged for other people were extraordinary. Um, the way that he effortlessly blended blues and R&B and jazz and hip hop and gospel, especially on that Black Messiah album, was stunning in its subtlety and its effortlessness and its beauty and its complexity. D'Angelo was just different, y'all. And I think the other beauty about D'Angelo is that he was humble. He he didn't walk around like he was a generational artist. He didn't walk around like he was our Marvin. He didn't walk around like he was our Black Messiah. No, he walked around like a humble, creative, introspective, flawed, fragmented, but ultimately beautiful human being. He was cool. He was special. There's just no other D'Angelo. There never will be. And so, as he returns to the ancestors, I'm sending love to his family, his friends, and his fans, of which I am one. And while his death means we've lost a lot of joy, we can at least rest easy knowing that he's lost a lot of pain. Rest in peace, D'Angelo. Thank you. All right, family. That is it for night school, y'all. Oof. I ain't got nothing left today, y'all. Not even from being tired, just from being, oof, Lord. What a day, man. We've lost so many giants. We've lost so many great ones this year. I ain't got much left, man. Anyway, I know some of y'all wanted to hear me talk about Joe Budden podcast. And today was a great day of taping at the Joe Budden podcast. A lot of interesting stuff happened. The show is already out. It's called Tricky Words. Make sure you check it out on Patreon. And while you're over there on Patreon, make sure you follow me. Make sure you subscribe to the Marc Lamont Hill official Patreon page. If you missed it, it's right there. There's a QR code right there. You can click the link. You can also just go to Marc Lamont official and find me there. It's where we do a lot of stuff. Night school is still here Monday and Wednesday night, but the rest of the week there's original content, classic content, new commentaries, reflections on everything, including what happened to me and Flip on night school. I mean on the JBP. So please support me over there. I am on Patreon for a few reasons, and people have asked me why. And I'm gonna tell you again. Part of it is that I needed some life changes, and doing night school 4 nights a week was just unsustainable for my body and my family and my life. Yes, passing place today is Tuesday. However, because of Indigenous Peoples Day, we didn't do Monday. We made an announcement that because of Indigenous Peoples Day, we would do today. I didn't want to skip the day, so we didn't do Monday. We did today, and we'll be on tomorrow. But every week we'll be on Monday and Wednesday right here on Night School on YouTube, free of charge, just like always. You can come over here for Night School and get the same information, the same lessons that you've always gotten. But what we're also going to do on Patreon is provide more depth. We're going to do office hours over there, which means we get a deeper analysis. We're also going to have special guests, which we're also going to have interviews. We're also going to have classic content. We're also going to have instant analysis and reflection and live analysis and reflection on there. Um, the other issue, I think, is a very real one, which is we need to be able to build the infrastructure. We need financial support. And Patreon gives, hopefully, the financial stability that we need to do the work that we need to do. For me to create independent, grassroots, unbossed media, I need financial infrastructure and support, and Patreon gives me that. That's why I'm asking people to go over to Patreon, particularly those of you who support the content, who watch the content regularly, and who want more of it. I'm literally tripling the amount of content you're going to have access to. But in order to do that, I need you to subscribe to the Patreon. It gives me the financial stability to pay staff to get the work out, to cut clips, to get clips out, to produce stuff, to write scripts, to pay for studio time, to pay for new equipment. There's a new camera we're using right now. That um, all that stuff costs. I don't make a dollar on this stuff. I promise you, not yet. I'm not saying I never will. I certainly hope to, but I have yet to make a dollar on this stuff. This is all about getting information out to the public, but I also need some financial support from the community in order to be able to do it without taking a loss every month, because I literally cannot afford to do that. So we're building. The great thing about uh, the Patreon is that there are multiple tiers. So some of you will enter at a tier that allows you to watch all the tiers allow you to watch all the content. I'm not trying to withhold videos from people. Um, Other levels allow you to get greater levels of access, but also allow you to simply decide that you want to support the work that I've been doing for 2 decades now here out in the world. So anyway, I'd love for you to check me out on Patreon. I'd love you to click that, hit that QR code, or go directly to Marc Lamont Hill Official and join the team. Um, a great question came up here, and someone said, "Do you suggest taking our membership over to Patreon rather than having it here? Let us know what you prefer." Absolutely. I prefer that you do it at Patreon than here. If you're here, that's great. Um, but Patreon, again, YouTube takes a much bigger cut, and it's much less stable. I'm grateful for whichever space you use. And if you want to stay at YouTube for whatever reason, that's okay. It all counts. It's all helpful. Um, but um, but if you're asking what I prefer Patreon. Um, if Yolu said, will that be more important? I wouldn't say more important. I think apples to apples, you'll get more out of a membership at Patreon. Just being honest with you, I think you'll get more out of a Patreon membership long term. But either way, there's benefits, and I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure that wherever your membership is, that you're successful. But I think slowly but surely, I'd love all of the people to be over at Patreon rather than over on YouTube. Ultimately, and there's other reasons why as well. Like YouTube doesn't give you the people's information. So with Patreon, I have access to your email. I can communicate with you. I can send you things. I can send you merch. I can give you updates when a new book comes out and send you free copies of the book if you're a member of the second tier. I can't do any of that with YouTube. So Patreon is my preference. But if, like Brandon said, I literally just press join, I'm grateful for that. And again, it's up to you, but I would prefer Patreon for sure. Thank you all for what you're doing. And in fact, I'm about to put some content over on Patreon right now, so that we can talk. And anyway, y'all have a good night. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you soon. Peace.